Great start. So welcome everybody. We're here again at Tropical Nomad in the Garden, episode 475. Have another wonderful guest, which we'll introduce in a moment. So tonight is all about, AI. It's about health. It's about managing stress. It's about how can AI improve your health, improve your life, become one with the human spirit. But that's just me talking. In a minute, I'm going to ask you if that was correct. So as you know, Henry Love is our guest. I love doing our little intros. So this week we sit down with Henry Love, dynamic thinker, reshaping how we understand health, business, and longevity in the startup world. Now, Henry Love is building an AI health and nutrition platform for founders. He's a former VC, ex-Meta, and Instagram. And look, from advising startups, founders at Facebook and Instagram, to leading VC firms in crypto and fintech across Singapore, Shanghai as well. I remember you speak 4 languages. To launching ventures in nutrition tech for high-performance founders. Henry's journey is anything but linear. He speaks 4 languages, as I mentioned, has lived across 4 continents, and brings a rare global lens to the entrepreneurial mindset. So please give another round of applause for Henry. Thank you. So some of the takeaways. We're all creatures of habit. So what we consume every day matters. Number 2, our new capabilities of understanding nutrition and health with AI. Transparency of knowledge, which is the new standard. So whether you're a founder, investor, or curious explorer of high performance wellness, this one is packed with real world tools and deep insights. So for those of you here in the audience, I recommend that if you have a question, write it down on your phone so you don't forget, unless you can remember, you have a great memory. That's also what you can do. My name is Robert Ian Bonnick, the founder of RIB & Associates, Gateway to Indonesia, founder also of SpeakuP Monday, Destination Indonesia. And as I mentioned before, I help entrepreneurs and brands unlock growth in Bali through strategic connections, market entry support, and storytelling. So whether you're expanding your business, entering a new market, or seeking high impact private sector connector slash collaborations, I'm happy to talk further if that's something you need help with. So let's get on to tonight's show. So Henry, first of all, thank you to our brother Tyrone, Collective Solution again, he'll come pretty soon, I hope, and we're going to get him on camera. But this is how we were connected and introduced. So I think that's number 1. I just want to thank him for that dearly, because he's a great guy. So maybe just to start us off, a little bit about you. So, you've had this fantastic background in tech, in business, also in health, right? So my first question to you then would be, when did you get maybe the indicators coming into your life that, you thought health is really important? Was it something which you came across through burnout? Was it something you came across because maybe a parent or a loved one died early before their time? I mean, where did this interest in fusing health and technology, where did that come from?
Man, you mentioned a lot of things there. I think all the above, right? And I think there was a span of several months where not directly in my family, but friends and their families and people around me were facing health related issues, and I myself have faced multiple burnouts and basically lack of nutrition and lack of something that we don't even know, and there's not enough information and knowledge that can directly pinpoint these things that can help us in those times. And in the current medical system, whether that's in Japan or in the US or even China or Bali or wherever, it's just not sufficient. Mm-hmm. So I think all those moments led to me having to do a ton of research on my own. And in the last 8 months that I've stepped away a lot from my day-to-day work as an investor, as an operator. I have more and more time to explore this world of health and nutrition with the help of new innovation like AI that led me to where I'm at now. So hopefully by being here, by connecting with you, I get to have more of these conversations with creators and founders and people in Bali that are also looking at similar things, and we can explore these topics together because the leading scientists are exploring these topics together. So no one has the answers to these things, but fortunately we have more tools than ever before to explore this topic. So that this is why I'm here. I'm here to connect with folks.
One of the things which kind of hit me, the amount of countries that you've lived in over the past, which I'll get you to mention. Learning 4 languages and speaking 4 languages fluently, that got my attention. So you mentioned before about, wherever you've been, there are certain things which I guess are common denominators, right? But just being the number one, please mention the countries that you've lived in. And also, if there was something that each of those countries blessed you with, what would that be? And this is kind of going back to the notion that someone mentioned to me a few years ago, right? Everywhere has something, but nowhere has everything, right? Everywhere has something, but nowhere has everything. So going back to remind you of the question, so the countries that you've lived in, and which, if you could name it, which thing did each country bless you with on this kind of journey that you're on now? How would you answer that?
I'll try to go through each one. I was born in Osaka, Japan. So I'm Chinese born Japan. So I was there until about 5 or 6, so about 5-6 years there. And then my parents did this thing, they want me to learn the languages. So they dragged me back to China for a year and they dragged me right back to Japan. So it was pretty crazy. They did that about 2-3 times. So I learned both languages really well. So I was split 7 to 8 years each in Japan and China. In China, I was in the center of China, so none of these private schools, English speaking. It was fully local Chinese in the middle of Hunan province in Changsha, so it was China. So I often tell people that I'm probably one of the last people that have seen China in the state that it was in the 90s, where in the 2nd to 3rd tier city in China, and no one will ever see that again because China has transformed. It is now one of the most advanced cities in the world. I believe that same city that I stayed in for 7-8 years has one of the tallest towers in the world that rivals Burj Khalifa in Dubai. So that was just the 2nd, 3rd tier city in the 90s.
Now I know we've got a long way to go, but I just want to. I'm looking at you and I'm loving that, but I want these guys to see you. So maybe if we just turn your chair a little bit more towards the audience.
Yep.
Just so they get to see you, right? Okay.
Perfect.
Beautiful. So
Awesome.
China, and as you mentioned, technology comes up as something maybe that you learned from China. So what other countries and what did each country bring in?
Yeah, I'll start from there. I think Japan has taught me just discipline. I think Japan has taught me the consistency and discipline. I think those two things, have taught me quite a bit of how to be a craftsman. How to be okay doing the same thing over and over again, just to get better, by 1% each day or each hour, each minute. Those folks that we've all seen, whether it's the sushi chefs or the blacksmith, and they would do that for 30 years, 50 years, no complaints. They love it. Right. So I think that mentality, I haven't seen that in anywhere outside of Japan, which, I remind myself all day that, to be able to do that, I think is a gift to appreciate, every little things that comes with that journey. And China has taught me to be really adaptable. You see Chinatown in every parts of the world. Chinese people are everywhere. They learn all sorts of languages, and you see them in Indonesia. The Chindos have amassed such fortune that, top 10 wealthiest in Indonesia, for better or worse, are top 1 Chinese descent. So, and you see that across Argentina, you see that across Mexico, you see that across US. So that adaptability and the flexibility of learning new languages, new culture, and stepping into it without fear. I think that Chinese mentality, I do have. So I really like the combination of the two.
And then you had this background as a VC, working again with some of the biggest companies in the world of what they do. So let's go to the VC period. I know there's a few people who want to know a little bit about that. So with the VC period, who were you being? How were you acting? How did you look at projects? How did you look at the future? And which area in the VC world were you focused on?
I was specifically focused on crypto and fintech. I would say crypto falls into the fintech umbrella as a whole. For a long time, it was this side thing, that wasn't connected to anything. But now it's more than ever. It is part of the society of a fintech. And who was I during that time? I think most VCs won't tell you, but I'll be honest to tell you that I would say no VC is 100% confident with what they're doing, because they're in the edge, they're in the forefront of this. So for me specifically, I enter the VC space in crypto specifically in 2017, 2018, right after Facebook. So at the time when Bitcoin went down to basically 3,000 from 20,000. Is this going to continue to exist? Are there new innovations? So there were 2018, 2019. Those were really difficult years where people were very confused. And you ask any builder, founder, VC, they were very confused. And then comes a wave of 2020, 2021, 2022, and then 2022 to 2023 was also those 2 years where people were saying, okay, well, are we just gonna go back to social media and do something else? So it was a fascinating 8 years of looking at what's coming next without knowing what's coming next, and things are moving so fast. So you're on edge. So I was on edge the whole time.
How did you check yourself, right? Because most people, and this is kind of leading to where you're going, right? In that world, right?
You're just on edge.
I'm laughing, right? Because now, don't hurt me after this, right? I'm looking at you. Please. I have a friend, right? He's in real estate. It's not Hans, right? It's not Hans. He's in real estate, and he was a few years ago. He was saying that crypto investors were his worst clients, right? And I'm saying, well, why is that? Well, he said because, when the market was going up, they didn't want to invest because they didn't want to lose out on potential gains, right? To get physical bricks and mortar. And then when the market was going down or sideways, sideways, they didn't want to take the money out because they were spectating it's going to go up and they would lose. Going down, they're waiting to get back to that point where they're comfortable to then put the money. So one friend of mine, I won't mention his name, but he was highly leveraged on crypto investors, and he ended up going through a really tough time because they had to default, right? Because they weren't paying. So there were some very edgy times, right? So, but you're sitting right here with me. You look very well. You look very kind of happy, and right. So you said you're on edge the whole time. Because I see some crypto heads in here as well. What could you have done then that would have kept you in a more optimal mental state where you're not burning?
I think the folks that have done quite well, a lot of were my peers and friends, and the ones that have done the best are the most disciplined. You know, the ones that really follow the sort of almost the Japanese way of, I will continue to do this thing and I will pick this direction and keep going. But it's not blind. So, you know, so they were gathering information, but they had this unwavering belief and then discipline to stay the course, right? And they could be wrong, right? And then some of them were wrong after a couple of years and they have to redirect. But when they were right, you know, now they're all billionaires. So I have a few friends that I've seen, I can count on top of my head about 3 or 4 that in 2017, 2018, they could have gone to zero. They could have gone negative, but they're billionaires, like real billionaires that have amassed fortune either through a fund entity or a company that have raised at, you know, $4 or $5+ billion as a CEO, co-founder. So those folks really just kept going and ignored whatever else is out there. And they were fortunate that they picked the right direction and they were confident with that direction. So if you're in that zone that you believe it so much, I would say keep going until it fails, until you can't anymore, and exhaust that route, because if you're right, then you probably don't have to work again. This is what I saw.
You know, just so people know, because the guys that know me, right? I believe in crypto. I believe in blockchain. So I'm not that guy saying don't do it. I'm not that guy. But if I ask you, and then we're going to get to some of these questions, you know, blockchain, crypto, where do you sit with that in the future? What do you see? If you were a VC now, what is it that you would be doing?
I just had this conversation with a friend of mine. The reason why I actually, you know, stepped back from a VC and stepping back from making a lot of personal investments is because today is more confusing than ever before to make an investment in an early stage startup. And the reason why I say that, because the tools and the stacks have all changed in the last 6 months. To give you an example, in the last week, I was able to launch an MVP, shipping features by the hour, and I'm not technical, and I'm just running through a lot of experiments and learnings from publicly available information like YouTube. I don't have an expert that's teaching me these things, and so much of this is open source now. And the founders, I would say, majority of the founders are not up to speed, especially if they're not in San Francisco or one of these hotspots, New York, San Francisco, that these tools are coming out, right? Because you're surrounded by friends who are all using it, so you're up to speed really quickly. So I would say 95+% of the founders are not up to speed on the latest. And if they're not up to speed on the latest in the next 6 months, they're not going to be 6 months behind. They're going to be 3 years behind. They're going to be 5 years behind, and this stacks. Because every day you're using this tool that gives you superpower by 3 or 5x. By the day, you're increasing. Kobe talks about, you know, if he practices 4 hours a day more than another person, right? It compounds over 365 days, and the other person never catches up. So this compounding effect is something that most people aren't talking about, that if you don't start yesterday, you're already late by a day, and that day is really meaningful today.
So look, what I can see, and we're going to get into some of your questions. I know some of you got deeper questions, and that's the reason why I said in the beginning, if you have questions, just write them down on your phone, because I think tonight's going to be that night. So what I can see from the different countries that you've lived in that blessed you with different skills, technical ability to be able to be malleable, to kind of go with it, ability to be flexible, ability to learn, a realization that if you don't learn, that's the Asian gene. If you don't learn, if you're not on top, then you're nowhere, right? So then bringing all of this into the now. So you're working on an AI health solution. So maybe tell us a little bit about what that is, why it's important now, and why do you think it has the edge over maybe what else is out there at the moment?
How I got to here in this step is a lot of it is personal interest and passion, and a lot of it is timing of all these tools coming together. And a lot of it is that there's no good solution out there today. I think that you got the Eastern medicine that's trying to be more preventative and give you things ahead of time, you know, and you have the Western medicine that's much more reactive, that unless you're dying and you have clear symptoms and a clear chemical imbalance, and you know, they won't treat you, right? So there's no middle ground, and we don't have enough information that is affordable, that is accessible, about ourselves, about what you're lacking, what I'm lacking, to the point that I don't even know where to start. You know, when I start asking myself these questions, you know, when I look 5-10 years down the road and I say, hey, what happens in the world where I make enough money for me and my family? What do I care about next? Right? And I care about health. I care about being able to spend more time, more quality time with my loved ones, and doing the things that I love. That requires me to be able to be functional and healthy, right? And the fact that I don't have the tools to do that made me realize that, one, there's a huge opportunity. If I feel this way, so many other people are feeling this way, and I've been around the world and I've seen this is a common denominator across every country, and 5-6 billions of people all dealing with the same problem, that they don't have enough information and the tools. And two, all roads lead to this for me in the end, because I want my friends, my family to be healthy more than that they become rich. You know, if I have to choose between the two, either wealth or health, you know, I want them to be healthy, and I don't really care about how wealthy they are going to be, right? So that, you know, really made me focus and commit in this direction for the next 5, 10, 25 plus years, because all roads leads here. So that this is kind of where I landed here.
So then just backing up a little bit. So if people ask you, so what is your project? Does it have a name? And what does it do? I know you're going to reiterate some parts, but just in case some people don't know what it is you're working on.
Yes. So the name is called XCAI. So I haven't publicly launched a website yet, which you will come soon. If you guys follow me on LinkedIn, you know, I will be launching it there. Right now, I've sent basically an alpha version to a couple friends to test it out, but I'm really, you know, building and shipping out new features every day. So I'm moving really, really fast on my own, which is a lot of fun. I think just yesterday, 2 days ago, I added a voice feature. So now you can talk to it and it responds in the voice with an AI agent that helps you evaluate your diet and what you need.
You know, by the way, after this, because I feel that people want to ask questions, so in about 2 minutes, if you have a question, raise your hand. And you've got a few different types of questions you can ask. So there was a VC stage, right? There was a crypto blockchain stage, which is still kind of there. There's an AI stage. There's a health stage. So there's already kind of 4 different topics of questions that you can ask, okay? Now, which part does AI, and it's an obvious question, but I want to ask so we cover the basics first, which part does AI play in this whole platform solution that you're developing now?
I'm looking to use it to solve the input-output problem. So, with AI, the biggest problem I see right now is if you give it bad input, which is, you know, what's happening now. Most folks they don't know what they want. So when they talk to the AI doesn't know what to give, right? So that's the same on the health side and nutrition side. So I believe that we can solve a lot of these problems by modifying and by enhancing the process of AI gathering data from people and asking the right questions and iterating on that. And I believe that there can be a more dynamic, let's say, a survey, or and then what it is today with multiple choice and questions and answers. I think that whole process can be like this, like an interview, right? Where we have unlimited time with this machine, that you don't feel bad that you're answering things in details, right? Because you go to a doctor, they give you 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and they're like, okay, what's your symptom? What's happening? So I want to be able to expand that process, because I think my hypothesis is that that's where things go wrong, and where you are not describing the symptoms or how you're feeling or whatever it is that well, and then the doctors and the nurses are not asking the right questions. So that's the first thing that I'm looking to solve with AI, to bridge that gap of collecting that data.
Love it. All right, so questions. Raise your hand. Now, before we go there, I just want to quickly round up a few things, right? So our guest tonight, Henry Love, is building an AI health and nutrition platform for founders, former VC of X and X Meta and Instagram. So questions. So just raise your hand. Yeah, we'll bring a mic to you. Carol, just wait for a second. You just arrived. Brother Guzman. I said, okay, you were there. Oh, what, you're sneaky. Guz, let's deal with our gentleman over here first. Yeah. So before you ask your question, just a few little guidelines. Please, once it's on, just leave it. It's okay, brother. So feel free to say your name. Feel free to give a short preamble, but not too long, and then get to your question. That way we can answer more questions, share more value. People are happier, and so is Henry. All right? So over to you, brother.
Testing. Okay, so I already introduced myself, so I just jump right to it. Okay, so not to be a wet blanket, but here in Canggu, a lot of people treat AI like, I think it's some kind of god. But when I myself use ChatGPT and assorted media, I'm concerned that there's a lot of misinformation. I would say, like, when I use AI, about 50% of the time, the information is wrong. And beyond that, I'm also very concerned about hallucination in AI. So how do you feel about those things?
And just before you answer that, so Guz, with that mic, maybe mic it up a little bit. So the next question was the one over here. Yeah, Dr. Sharma. Okay, so over to you.
Yeah, the hallucination problem is real, obviously, and it's gotten quite a bit better since 6 months ago, and every day it's getting better. I think the key is, and the luxury that we have is we have many different platforms now. So you have Claude, you have Gemini, you have Grok, and you have ChatGPT. So the key is to actually go through a number of these and compare and contrast some of these answers to ensure that the hallucination is at least screened out, right? In 2 minutes or so, you can find out whether or not there's conflicting answers, right? To actually, I don't know if you asked the question or not, but to actually get to the bottom of whatever the answer that you're looking for, I think you have to go into the rabbit hole and looking at the sources. And this is the part where, for medical and for nutrition level data, I'm looking into databases that are actually connected to publishing platforms. Like there's a API called OpenAlex that collects a lot of these data, that you can get a lot of these. And I also have a good friend of mine who's a CTO for dsite.com that is also collecting a lot of data in partnership with OpenAlex. So you really have to find where OpenAI or any of these AI companies are getting their data from, right? So just got to go a layer deeper, and this is at least how I'm exploring these things.
Great question, brother. Yeah. Sister.
Hi, Henry. I'm Dr. Charmel. I'm a functional nutrition doctor.
Close, my darling. Yeah.
I'm a functional nutrition doctor, so I represent that middle of the road that you were talking about from the Western and Eastern. So I guess my first question was pretty much answered. Where is the nutrition analysis data coming from? And then also, how personalized is the AI output? So if a person is putting in their information and their symptoms and so forth, how personalized is that approach with the output?
It's a good question. So this question gets into, it's a tough question to answer because there's a lot of disagreements in nutrition world, But there's a lot of disagreements in the health world. So the answers, it needs to be multifaceted, as in, and it has to give a lot of different viewpoints and options for the person that is getting the answer. Otherwise, it might lead them to this, wrong road, and that's not what I want. So for me, it's about presenting a lot of different options and different viewpoints that may or may not be conflicting, and as many of these things as possible. Because unfortunately, we don't agree on these things at all, even in the scientific community. And there's also, I'm just getting deeper and deeper. It's discouraging, but even the medical publishing industry, it's, we're finding that 80% is not able to be replicated, right? So there's a replication problem there. So we have to just trust as many sources as we can, and at this point right now, I believe that consensus across many different viewpoints is probably the best solution that we have today. And I don't know if we can ever get to a point where it's 100%, like this is the right way to go.
Any follow-ups? You okay? You're good?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Carol?
First of all, thank you so much for pointing to the importance of exactitude. I'm French, and I come from a culture where excellence is revered, and I find that in the Anglo-Saxon world, it's not at all the view. It's all about quantity rather than quality. And when it comes to talking about health, then exactitude is rather important. We know that the one factor that affects longevity across everyone in the world is connection. Diet plays a massive role, but connection is the key factor. So VCs, founders, they all suffer from that problem of being so funneled in what they're doing. And that creates issues where they very rarely, especially when they're startups, know how to mix love and business. And there is always this kind of conflict. And there is also this drive to actually do their thing and isolate themselves from the rest of the world. So how do you manage to keep community around you, if you do? And have you ever experienced this conflict between business and love? And do you have any lessons that you could share with any startups?
Yeah, first question is by saying yes, by saying yes to be here. This is me coming out of my cave and shell. There are a few people here that know me well, and I don't socialize too much. I go to the gym, I'm working, I'm there's a lot that I'm passionate about that you require me to be in a state of mind and where there's not a lot of distractions. So by being here and attending social events that are relevant and that have people that want to talk about the topics that I want to talk about, I think that's probably the most important thing. Because if you throw me into Finn's, no offense, Finn's Beach Club right now, I don't know if I can have a lot of conversation with folks there about this stuff. So it's good to be here. So I'm excited to be here. The second part I deal with every day, right? We only have 24 hours a day. So it's actually a problem that I think about all day long. I don't think you can control your day-to-day, but I think you can control your week. And by controlling a week, you're controlling your month and your quarter. So in any given week that you have, I often reflect every week, what did I do and how many days I've spent in the cave and versus, socializing. And I reflect quite a bit and keep myself in check. So if I haven't seen anyone or talked to anyone in a single week, I need to get out, right? So I think that reflection point is really, really important. So I do that on my own on a weekly basis. I also, I've started a quarterly goal session, which is basically a checkup with my two of my best friends, and I've done it with a number of other friends before since 2016. So it's been 9 years strong. So every single quarter, every 3 months, my best friend Rob is in Japan. My other friend's in Austin, Texas. We find a common time. The three of us have met since 2016, every single 3 months. And we talk about what happened in the last 3 months. We talk about what's going to happen in the next 3 months. So these checkpoints are really, really crucial for me. So a weekly checkpoint for myself and quarterly checkpoint with, some people that hold me accountable, my friends. So as I said, 9 years strong. So we're not stopping anytime soon.
Love that.
Thank you.
And so do you. Questions over here. Remember, we have crypto, we have AI, we have health, we have VC, right? There's a few topics there. There you go. We've got two.
Hey, Henry. Thanks so much.
Nice and close.
Hello. Hi, Henry. Thanks so much for sharing your insights. My name is Bella, and I'm working in AI and democracy, but also looking at how blockchain technology can help a lot of the functions that go on. But yeah, I think, maybe on the same line of more the personal question I had for you was maybe around like life hacks. So, you mentioned you're doing so much on your own that can be really overwhelming and quite high pressure, but I know you'd also described it as really fun, which is great because it's freedom as well. Like what apps or things would you share that you use to help organize or note taking? Also any like platforms for like collaboration, with teams or people that you're like working with. And then technical question, what do you see for the future of like AI and blockchain intersectionality?
Sure, I'll try to answer all three. The first one was about the tools. I like to just block out calendar times for specific things, but I like to do them in a kind of a how do I describe this, in like a vague way. So for example, my calendar right now is like I just did this last week, so I have a new kind of a setup, so it's fresh. So I have 1 to 2 hours for learning where I'm just chatting Voicemo with ChatGPT. If you guys haven't used Voicemo, it's incredible. Any AI, just put it on and you can ask any questions from astrophysics to microbiology, and I kid you not, they taught me microbiology in about 30 minutes. And the best part is that you have basically an expert that can confirm that you learned this thing. So I can say, after it taught me this information, I can repeat it back to them and say, so it's like this. Am I right or am I wrong? And they would tell you exactly immediately that you're right or you're wrong, and you add additional info. And that's how you confirm and you move forward. So, for me, that basically information stacks rather quickly. Because what I found in my learning days, you're not sure if you're learning it. But to have someone to definitively tell you that you've learned it, this part, okay, move on. That's the next part. So that has increased my speed of learning by quite a bit. So Voicemo for sure. And I block out that time for learning, and I have 2 priorities per day. That's it. I just don't believe that we can do so much in a day. You can maybe cover the third, but I have 1 in the morning, maybe from 9 a.m. to 11:30 noon, and then 1 in the afternoon from maybe 2 to 5. That's it. If you just do 2 highest priority things every single day, Monday through Friday, you're knocking out really important things, 10 times a week. That's incredibly effective in anything that you're doing, and regardless of what those priorities are, you decide them, right? So I think in my younger days, I have been bogged down by distractions, or when I say distractions, they're basically priorities that are not priorities, that look like priorities, because everything looked like a priority, if you don't decide just 2 a day. So this is what I'm kind of honing in there today on my calendar. I've started marking these priorities in Notion, and Notion has improved quite a bit since 3-4 years ago. It's an incredible tool for that, and yeah, I think that's a pretty good start. And I'll cover just a little bit of the AI blockchain. So the way I see AI is taking data and is increasing efficiency. And then blockchain is mostly good for immutability, so something that's staying there forever, or giving the ownership to individuals, like rights to data or something, or control for access. So I hope we will get to, which the AI companies and the AI side will fight because they want to take all the data. What I hope is that they will eventually have to ask us permission because of blockchain to say yes or no, right? So whether we get to that, we don't really know. More recently, I was exploring kind of the conversation about copyright, right? So because I'm trying to learn how to make this better AI nutritionist and whether it's analysis or screening from other data, right? And some of this is maybe YouTube transcripts. Some of this may be open publishing platforms. So like, to be honest, these AI companies have basically ignored all these copyrights. They just kind of went and bulldozed through it, and they just said, we don't care. So I have to decide on my own, like what, because there's no guidance for this. And I have what ethically and what morally am I okay with, and then what to do about this. And so it'd be nice to have blockchain kind of be involved in all this stuff to have some control posts around this, because now it's free for all. It's on the internet. You can take it and train your data. That's how China and US and everywhere around the world that's doing, and to train their data.
Great question. Before your question, just want to give a shout out to our friends, Brother Tai and team. So special thanks to the Collective Summit, an annual destination experience for crypto and AI enthusiasts who wish to gather in Bali to share, learn, and grow. And as I mentioned, they've joined Speak Up Monday as part of our initiative, which is a collaborative. Tai and the rest of the crew who are here. So Tai, thanks, brother, for introducing this beautiful man to us. Most appreciated. Over to your question.
Yeah, I was curious about the crypto side of things. Like, so you're a VC in crypto, and probably investing your own money in some projects too. So I was curious, which projects have been like some of your best hits, or like your favorite sector in crypto, and how you see narratives forming right now, and what you're like most bullish on right now in the market for crypto.
I feel like it'd be more interesting to share the big misses. Yeah, the biggest misses. I think this is an interesting one. In 2017, 2018, there was a company named MoonPay, which basically it allows you to convert your real money, like real currency, into cryptocurrency. So the founder, went around everybody and no one invested. And he ended up actually taking a loan and then grew this thing from basically bootstrap to $5 billion. So that was by far the biggest miss. Solana, BNB, I have friends that are the managing partners for Multicoin. They were one of the first investing for Solana. And that thing has been kind of just sitting there for 10 cents, 50 cents, and before he shot up to $200. So those are some really, really big misses across 8 years. And I'll mention another one. I think Bitcoin at $3,000, $5,000. I think even if you just did nothing and throw money at Bitcoin, and 8 years ago, I think most people are regretting that they have been making investments. I think the founder of Digital Currency Group came out recently to say if he just held on to the Bitcoin since 2012 or 2013, that when he first bought, he would have made better returns than any of these investments. So back to what I was saying before, whatever it is, and this is a much bigger industry than before. If you're in a niche or siloed of this crypto, if you believe in it, if you keep going, and if you're right, the return will always be there.
Before any follow up, you good?
Current narratives. What are you most bullish on right now?
Okay, the problem with the crypto industry as a whole is liquidity. So you look across the board, there's not actual liquidity. And when I say liquidity, it means people are actually buying this thing and using this thing for some purpose. Whether it's NFT or tokens, there's no liquidity. So I'm most interested in how you bring liquidity to the market and that is sustainable. So there's a lot of ways to incentivize this liquidity and say, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of money if you use our product, but we can't give you that money forever. So once the money dries out, which happened a few days ago with an ecosystem called Chain that gave people a lot of money, and then the music stops and everyone goes. So that's been a story across 8 years. So whoever can solve sort of this liquidity problem in a very sustainable way, so that's what I'm most interested in. But that requires oftentimes a real use case or product market fit that people are using. So that's been the biggest challenge for the industry.
Great question, brother. So just behind you, this one might be health related. Let's see.
It is. Well, actually, it is related specifically to your business around privacy. So I think one of the concerns that a lot of people face is around privacy, and with all, not just one specific AI, but all of them. What is how is my privacy protected? And particularly when it comes to health, like if I'm sharing all of my health data with an app, do you face this question? And what's your approach when you're speaking to people specifically about their privacy and their health?
Yeah. Yes. I am looking at HIPAA compliance, and the HIPAA has open source databases, but it's pretty outdated. I've actually spoke with the SVP of Signal, which is a privacy centric app. Unfortunately, they don't have a lot of functionality. And I used to work for Instagram and Facebook, so I know that WhatsApp is okay, but there's still some shady stuff in the back, and that I don't fully trust. So it's a really tough question. So I think anonymizing the data is going to be important, of course, and to use that with AI, it's got to be somewhat locally done, or on a server that is protected. So those are the kind of the things that I'm considering, is whether or not to have this, that I have control over this data, locally do it, or or the user themselves control this and just runs it anonymously and then push back this results or whatever's evaluation back to the users. So there's a number of ways to do this that incorporates blockchain in the middle to give you a user's rights. So I'm looking at all these infrastructure and options.
And when you are speaking with any of the AI platforms, how do you handle that sort of privacy concern, or is it not a concern at all for you? Are you just fully open?
I have avoided giving a lot of personal information. So, so I'm over there learning physics and biology. They can take that data all they want. And I am starting to face a little bit of that, like my image, for example. So I'm going to test the Heijin avatar. So I'm going down the path of creating content around some of these subjects. And I'd like to see where we're at in terms of creating that virtually using an avatar that sounds just like me and talks like me. It's quite good, actually. It's scary good now. So that gets to a conversation of, okay, this is going to be out there, and and they're going to be able to use my face and my voice. So it's hairy. Unfortunately, right now, as someone that is in the forefront and testing these things, I'm almost like sacrificing myself and my privacy to be able to get ahead and understand where things are. And hopefully, there will be an option where where regulation is going to come down. It has to come from regulation. These companies won't budge, right? This is all profit making for them. They want to keep all the data. So we'll see. To answer your question, I'm stuck. Okay. It's either like I have to go try it and give up my privacy, or I don't, and I'm I feel that I'm leaving things on the table. I'm getting left behind.
What it sounds like, what you just said, right, a few times, is that like it's a Wild West, basically, and there is no privacy. There are companies which are basically, as you mentioned before, kind of just going straight into sensitive places and grabbing data, right? Because there are no guardrails. There's nothing around to stop them. So then, at the end of the day, it comes down to your values and what it is that you stand for. And I think, as you said on a few occasions now, just by being out there, then you also run the risk of having things come back at you, people using you in other ways, right? So I think it's an interesting place to be. And you're saying that in a way you feel stuck. And I'm looking at a few people here in that medical sphere as well, and I can feel what they're thinking, because on one hand they're saying, I've got to get to this AI, I've got to use it because it's smart for me to do that. But then on the other hand, if I've got no guardrails to do it, then I put myself up for liability, right? Patients taking me to court, patients doing this because I didn't look after their data, and all the rest of that. So I think it's going to be an interesting couple of years in this field. And thanks for your question. Any more questions from man over here? Yeah, I was waiting for you, brother.
Thanks. So Henry, you said you're building your platform or your product, and you're building it solo. So I was wondering, what kind of tools are you using to build the product? You also mentioned you're building some AI agents. So what are you using to build those? And you also said you're not technical. So I was wondering, what's your approach there?
Yeah. So it's a big, giant experiment, right? So as someone that is non-technical, that have invested in startups, that have watched founders, I have a good understanding of how things are structured from software standpoint. But you want me to code it up? It's been probably years ago that I've had computer science classes. So right now, there are a few tools that you can do if you have a basic understanding of the structures. NAN is a really good one, and make.com is the other one. That basically, they're very similar, the two. And I've tried all the vibe coders, and the Bolt, Lovable, and all these. There's like 5 or 6 now. But I think the completely free one right now is by Google. It's called Firebase Studio. So you can actually go to Firebase Studio on Google. It's all free. So you can build a website, tonight. And you can put in your domain. It runs these things are really, really good for prototyping. So you can get things out really, really quickly. And that's really good for founders with ideas or testing, exploring ideas. And I think if I have to, if I want to suggest to founders who are doing this, I would say just there's a few folks that have done this for a long time. There are like Solo, like Peter Levels is like this like indie hacker that does everything publicly. So I am thinking about doing a lot of this publicly and publishing all the day-to-day of what tools I use and what I work on, and just as a experiment and see kind of where things go. So that's one direction I'm thinking about. And the other thing that I would suggest with founders is that I think you need to go out and test this product, whatever this MVP is, with a real customer, right? So people who are interested in whatever you're building. So that's why I'm here. So I'm sure after this, so some of you guys maybe come up to me and say, hey, like, can I test this out? Can I see what you're doing? So one of the main reasons I decided to come out of my shell is to test some of these things that I built. Otherwise, it would lead me to a whole different rabbit hole for next 10 years, and I still don't know what I built is used for now.
Thank you for your question, brother. And look, so just feeling any more questions out there. One question that comes up, and we'll quickly kind of go through these 3 questions, see if we've answered them or not. You have this great experience and background in these 4 or 5 different areas, right, where you've excelled. So then the question that comes up is, what is the biggest question that isn't being asked? What's the biggest question that isn't being asked right now in any of those sectors that you identified with?
I think for me, I think a lot about what I'm building and how the world is changing. So I wish that, we talked a little bit more about where I see things are going to go. I think in the next 6 to 12 months. The actual product development and building part of this, the engineering part of it, is becoming so efficient and effective and cheap that I truly believe the humans, entrepreneurs and founders, and we're gonna be the most important at getting distribution. So that's marketing, that's branding, that's content, that is building a community of people who will use your product. So this is something that completely goes against what I believed in really 6 to 12 months ago. So I basically came to Bali and I went into a dungeon and didn't really socialize too much because I want to be private. I respect my privacy, but I realized in order to make an impact in this new world where technology is so abundant, it's so efficient, so effective, it really have to come out of your shell and build that trust like a human, because that human level trust and builds your brand and builds your distribution, and that is really the only way to succeed in this AI filled world, because everything else is going to be just easy. In about, it's easy now, and it's going to be easier in 6 months and 12 months. But the hard part is someone like Robert that's hosting a podcast every Monday. That's hard. So when I heard you tell me that 475 episodes, it's like, that's a lot of weeks. That's a lot of time that you've set these lights up, that you've set these live, to share with your community. No AI and no one is using AI can take that away from you, because the community that you built over the last 4 years, right? 5 years and 8 years even in Bali. So that no robots and AI can take that away. And it's the only path forward. And so every entrepreneur should be thinking about this exactly, and what unique perspective or content or whatever it is that you can add value to your community and people who will potentially buy or use their product into the future.
I have one more question for you that comes up, and but before I do that, maybe I should do that first. Let's see how we go. See if I remember. Last week, actually, I'm gonna give you time to answer it. You just mentioned about something that you had to give up in order to see the wider picture and find the solution. That was giving up your privacy to realize you need to go and interact with humans, right? To find out, to get response, feedback, to in a way kind of guide you along your way. So the question is, what else, if there's anything, have you had to give up in order to make progress? What comes up for you, right? I'm going to give you some time to answer that. Now, what I want to bring up was that last week we had a guy called Patrick Searle, that some of you know. Now, he's a big business builder here. He's worked with some of the biggest companies in the world, just like yourself. And last week was all about, why businesses now should, inverted commas, create community first before their business. And he was using WhatsApp, not your favorite platform, but he was using WhatsApp as an example. So back in the day, right, you would have had to set up a website, a landing page, drive traffic to it. That's 20, 30 grand right there. And then after, you need to split test, see what's going on, and it's money, right? Whereas what he's done with a number of different communities, me as well, is that WhatsApp gives you right now, but nothing is for free, right? If something's for free, then you're the guy being had. But anyway, another story for another day. WhatsApp groups are, if something's for free, then you're the guy being had. But anyway, another story for another day. WhatsApp groups are free. And so what he's been looking at is, how do you use a free WhatsApp group to basically replace that entire process of landing page, website, running ads to that landing page. 50 to 80 million a month with 50 people through a WhatsApp group. Started off with him and his wife and another couple. The point is that if something has a demand, it will be executed one way or another. And they didn't know anyone else out of those 4 people in that group, and leads and things. So we vibe, we gel, we get along. There's a connection. So these within a community setting, as you mentioned, is something which is very different. Incredible, amazing life. Incredible, amazing life. Shout it out.
I find that it gets
three words.
It intertwines with my creativity.
Again?
Intertwines with creativity.
It interferes with your creativity. Okay. What about you? Because I think you said you didn't use it.
Yeah. Well, when I have tried it for like writing long reports, I find there's so many errors still actually that I find that it's actually.
So it's erroneous. Yeah, it's not correct. Yeah.
And then also I'm in a position where I'm actually like assessing and putting efforts into AI, so I'm not like using it.
Erroneous, and then ethical principles. Got it. When I ask you that question, what comes up for you?
I already mentioned the privacy part, right? I think that was a big commitment. And I think that goes by that I have someone, a friend or whoever say, hey, you want to come and help me do this? Or, here's a huge opportunity. And you just have to commit to saying no. And that is probably the hardest part. And I struggled for probably 7 to 8 months, and I was also in exploration mode before finding this path forward. It took me 7-8 months to basically look around and look within, look outside to find this thing.
I mention this because I feel that it's really important that people should know, and it's something fresh. And also, is there Dr. Shamel, might be Carol, might be one of the other wonderful people here, right? Take that time to speak to them. Database network experience across multiple sectors. Database network experience across multiple sectors here. But that's how I can help and support you. So if that's something that you're interested in, feel free to reach out to me. Thanks to Tropical Nomad, Brother Guzman. I didn't realize that Halis isn't here. So you're filming. You're being a photographer of that already. So, but thank you for showing up, for being you, for kind of walking in, not kind of really knowing what's going to happen. As I told you, I don't either. But I'm comfortable with not knowing, right? But know it will be good. And tonight has been great. And I think that people have gotten really good understanding of who you are, why you exist, what you're here to do, and why you're here to do it. And that, to me, is the critical part of any interview Q&A that we have. So I really appreciate you for being here, my brother. So round of applause for our brother Henry. Not quite done yet, but round of applause. Woo! All right, so I think and obviously, audience, thank you again. Those who are watching, come in person. You get to network effectively with people that are here, right? That's really a critical part. So, Henry, over to you. That final question. Anything you want to reiterate, mention, bring up, feel free. The stage is yours.
I think one of the reasons why I decided to come by, and one is to meet all of you, and two is to hopefully I can inspire others to jump into this this AI learning and to let everyone know that no one's an expert in this. And you see, founders of Google that have come out of retirement and go into boot camp in San Francisco. That's when you know that no one here, it doesn't matter how rich you are, it doesn't matter how much resources you have, who you know, everyone's on the same starting line, which is the craziest part. This is what I really believe is the exact same, or if not more than where when internet was built or electricity was found, and this is unbelievable timing. So hopefully this is not daunting by encouraging for others to explore new technology, new innovation. There's never been a better time to be a solo founder with no experience and resources. This is the golden era. And I think too is I ask myself these questions every day. Am I excited to get out of bed this morning? And why? And am I moving fast enough? And why or why not? So it doesn't mean that you have to, work really, really hard, but you just have to, if you move really quickly, then you don't have to work really, really hard, right? Like I've seen myself get things done in 15, 30 minutes, especially now with all these new tools that I probably would have taken me 1 week. Yesterday, I think yesterday, 2 days ago, I've spoken with a new friend who's a CTO, and I asked him directly, how much has AI improved your productivity? Is it 2x, 5x, or 10x? And he said 5x. 5x. I mean, that's like basically what you could have done in 1 day. What you could have done in 5 days, you could do in one. So that is the level that people are getting out of these new tools. And if you're frustrated that you're not getting this out, it's okay, but it just takes a little bit of learning, and you'll get there, and really quickly. And you'll be once you go there, you don't come back. So that's the most exciting part for me. So hopefully, I can stay connected with all of you guys, and I'm happy to share my personal Instagram and that's just for all the friends in Bali. So.
Close. Round of applause. Henry Love, everybody. Thank you very much. See you next week. All right, so